Well, just a couple of weeks ago, I was hyping up this Texas A&M defensive line on paper, even though we lost Walter Nolan, Fadil Diggs, LT Overton, mainstays in the rotation. I had high hopes with these transfers and players that were here at A&M, ready to take the leap, like a GBD, like a DJ Hicks, like an Albert Regis, Eni White, Malik Silla. These kind of guys were guys that got me excited because I thought that after some development, after being behind the scenes, they could take a step up. You add all the players in the portal, the Nick Scorton, all the guys that A&M went and targeted this last recruiting weekend that went crazy when we saw Johnny Manziel money sign on X time and time again from Mike Elko, the man himself, just out there recruiting. I was feeling good. But there was always the caveat, right? You had to have Shemar Turner. He was the anchor. He was the piece you needed on this defensive line to really make it work. Because let's face it, as hyped as we are about some of these guys, it's a very, very inexperienced group. And the transfers that are coming here, they're inexperienced at A&M. Most of them are actually inexperienced in Power 5. Nick Scorton, of course, the exception to that rule. Well, Shemar Turner's coming back, folks. And that's a monumental piece, not only for the D-line, but for this entire defense. It's a really good reason to be excited. It's a really good reason to get your hopes just a little bit higher. We're Aggies. We're cautiously optimistic always. Even in the best of years right now, we're a little battered. But this one feels pretty good. So I hope you guys crack a little bit of a smile about the Shemar Turner news and feel a little bit good about yourselves, at least for right now. So guys, let's talk a little bit more about that acquisition or the retention, whatever you want to call it. Let's talk about Ross Bjork. He's in the headlines again, and it's not going to be here for much longer. He's moving on to Ohio State. I want to react to that. I want to talk about how I felt about the Ross Bjork tenure, at least from afar, as a fan, as an uneducated person. I want to give you my opinions there. We've been fonged. A&M just got a crystal ball from, what do you want to call him? The Oracle, Steve Wiltfong. Pretty nails when you get a Steve Wiltfong crystal ball. This time for Des Ricks, the former 5-star defensive back, transferring out of Alabama as a true freshman. Some exciting stuff. Shemar Turner, Des Ricks, the portal stuff on fire. New AD, is that a positive? Let's talk about it. Guys, thanks for watching. This is a weekly video. I'm going to do one video that's kind of like a weekly update, talking about the highlights in the world of Texas A&M football. And then I'm going to do a weekly live show on Wednesdays. I'm sure many of you guys have been there. It's a call-in show. You guys are invited to call in. We're going to fill in the gaps, talk about everything we don't really cover in this show today on the Wednesday show. And we'll probably go back over some of this stuff, get your thoughts on Ross Bjork, Shemar Turner, everything going on in the world of college football and Aggie football. Wherever you want to take it, we'll go. Finally, if you guys could like and subscribe, that would help me greatly. We're trying to grow this thing, bring more fans like you into the discussion, whether you're an Aggie, an opposing fan. Just want to chop it up with you guys. I appreciate you for being here. So let's talk about Shemar Turner. So I was visualizing this defensive line, and every iteration of it needed to have Shemar Turner in there. From left to right, on first down, I think I'm starting Nick Scorton, Shemar Turner, DJ Hicks, or Albert Regis, or Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy. Let them fight it out. And then maybe a Shemar Stewart at your edge on first down. Third down package is where I'm getting really excited, though, folks. I'm thinking back to 2019, 2020, 2021, Mike Elko's heyday at the helm of Texas A&M's defense. That third down package always featured Tyree Johnson, Michael Clemens on your outside, and then they would move to Marvin Leal inside, and that was a really, really strong pass rush third down package. Very high rate of success, lethal. With all the toys that Elko has at the defensive line now, I might even be more excited about that group in that scenario today. You talk about a versatile group. You might not have those big anchors inside like a Matabike or a PV or Bobby Brown. I don't know if this D-line has that. Now, Albert Regis, Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy, DJ Hicks, who knows what those guys can develop into? But what I do know is that this is a versatile group that you can move guys around in. Nick Scorton has the body of a strong side edge, but he has the numbers and the pass rush ability of an edge rusher. I just see a lot of tools in the chest right now for Elko to play with on this defensive line. So Shemar Turner returning, it's huge. I felt like this D-line would be very good this year, even without Shemar Turner, but because of the lack of experience here at A&M, I felt like it would take time. I felt like maybe by week 4 or 5, you would see this D-line really come into its own, the rotation would settle, and you would feel good about it. But you don't really have time to mess around with the schedule this year. Opening with Notre Dame, going to the Swamp, I believe in week 3 or 4, Yes, Florida's down, but anytime you travel to the Swamp, you better brace for impact because you got a serious matchup and a serious crowd to deal with when you're there. Shemar Turner is that anchor, that leader that can lead the cavalry into battle in those early weeks of the season. Because the rest of that defensive line, you're looking at new starters at Texas A&M. You're not looking at the same usual suspects that you've gotten used to the last 2 years. But Shemar Turner is the one holdover that can really stabilize this thing and allow them to get over that initial hump and really get into form. They have their leader. I really think that getting him and anchoring that defensive line is really going to help the linebackers, in particular, whichever linebacker ends up starting opposite Torian York. Torian York has it locked up, his position, but the other position is open. It's up for grabs. Maybe you think Scooby Williams is the leader of the pack there for winning that job, but who knows who could come out and win that thing. Is it Jernigan? Is it Damian Stanford? Is Martrell Harris going to show up again? I don't know. But I know whoever it is, they're going to have good blockers in front of them, good block occupiers in Shemar Turner and the rest of this very talented defensive line. It really, really helps shore up the defense. It's probably the most critical offseason move that has happened for Texas A&M thus far. But speaking of critical Texas A&M moves, Ross Bjork is moving to Ohio. He just got hired by Ohio State, and I think it's a positive for Texas A&M. I'm sure many of you do too. I am not one to come on this channel and call for coaches' heads, call for AD heads, but I am here to call it how I see it. I did defend Ross Bjork through the Jimbo extension. That was one of his first moves here at Texas A&M, following up Scott Woodward. Of course, Jimbo and Woodward were good buddies. Jimbo maybe wouldn't have come to A&M if it weren't for the relationship with Woodward. It's a very big deal. Woodward moves to LSU. A&M has a pretty good 3-year window in Jimbo's first 3 years at A&M. You know, the 2018 season, I thought was a very positive season. You had the leading rusher in the SEC in Travion Williams. You win your bowl game. You win 9 games. You're feeling good about a year 1 coach. Year 2, lose a lot of talent, lose a lot of experience. You lose some games, but to really good teams. And then 2020, you ramp back up. A lot of players returning. Senior offensive line, senior Kellen Mond. Recruiting is really good. You win the Orange Bowl. Jimbo's flirting with the LSU job. Scott Woodward's back over there. Ross Bjork, if you want to talk about pressure, you want to talk about necessity to keep his job, he ended up throwing the absolute bag, as you guys know, to retain Jimbo. 10-year, what was it, $75 million contract, guaranteed, no buyout. We all know what it was. At the time, I got it. And even over the last couple of years, I understood having to make that move to potentially save your ass. Because if you lose Jimbo to an in-division rival this offseason after you won your Orange Bowl, when recruiting's taking off, when the program's trending up, you're feeling really good about some returning players in 2021, it's a pretty bad look for an AD. Turns out it was the wrong move. A move that lacked foresight. A move that lacked an out. A move that lacked contingencies, obviously. No buyout. You're stuck with him. And it didn't work out. He did make some good hires, though. Schloss, I think Buzz is a good hire. I know people are up and down on Buzz, but I think overall he is a good coach for this program. You feel good about those 2 hires. I'm pretty neutral about Ross at this point. But then they fired Jimbo. In my opinion, at a pretty weird time. When it was explained by Ross, I kind of understood where he was coming from. They wanted to get a jump on the market, a jump on the coaching search by doing it a couple weeks before the season ended, happening after the Mississippi State game, as you remember. The search kind of dragged on for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Mark Stoops. A&M fans, donors, riot. We lived it. We remember. He backs off from the move. And we just so happened to land on a guy that most Aggies are satisfied with in Mike Elko. I don't think that Mike Elko was the first choice, obviously, because he literally wasn't. Of course, these things are in flux, they're active, they're always moving, as Ross will tell you. But I do feel like most of the moves in football that Ross made in his time here, they seem to lack a little foresight, at least in my uneducated opinion. So yeah, I think the relationship had run its course. I think there were a couple of major red flags. I defended him through the first red flag, which was the extension of Jimbo with the ridiculous contract structure. But then the second bumbling of the hiring of the A&M head coach, I think it's okay to move on. I think it was time to move on, and I think the next guy will be even better here at Texas A&M. I have no idea who it's going to be. Do you? Any names come to mind for you guys? Put it in the comments below if you have any names for the next AD at Texas A&M. So we move on from Ross. I don't think I'm going to miss him that much. I wasn't like slamming the door when he leaves, but I think we're in a good place. All right, and ending on some good news. Des Ricks, former 5-star out of Alabama. He was a true freshman last year. He redshirted the year. He hit the portal when Nick Saban left the program, retired. He visited A&M, and he got the Steve Wiltfong crystal ball. He canceled the future visit to LSU, and things are looking really, really positive for A&M to land this guy. He's a former 5-star. He brings all the tools. He brings all the capabilities. He doesn't bring any experience. But this is a defensive back group that's wide open. A corner room that's wide open. We're going to see battles, and I think he comes in with as good a chance as any to start, if not the leader on paper to start at cornerback next year. So keep that name, Des Ricks, on the top of your mind, because he might be a guy that plays early and often for A&M next year. The insiders were not messing around when they said that Elko was going to play ball in this portal game. You got to do it. In a transition year, you got to get bodies in, because you're going to have bodies leave that leave with the former coaching staff. It's just how it has to work. Des Ricks will probably be the second highest rated. He'll be the second highest rated transfer prospect that A&M signs this class behind Nick Scorton, if they end up going through with the thing. So look out for Des Ricks, guy. He could be a guy that plays next year. I'm really liking the pieces that A&M is putting together right now. I think A&M definitely needs to get another running back and probably another receiver or two. But outside of that, you're feeling really good about the crop at corner. Nothing is guaranteed there. But what is guaranteed is they're going to fight to the death for that starting spot on both sides. Both corner spots wide open. You got about 10 guys that could potentially win that thing right now. I'm feeling pretty good about what comes out of this spring and fall cycle. Iron will sharpen iron. Competition will breed the best possible results. I like that aspect of it. We'll go into 2024 with another question mark there, but you feel good about the battle. Offensive line, you can bring back all 5 starters. You can bring back a bunch of experienced depth. Corner and offensive line have been the question marks on this team going on 2-3 years now. I think both spots have a really, really good chance to move forward and improve quite a bit this year. I'll feel much more confident in both position groups going into this season than I did last year. So guys, how do you feel about the state of the program? How do you feel about this defense? What else do you think A&M needs to do this offseason cycle, aside from locking in Terry Bussey? Come on, Bussey. Come home, man. Play receiver, you play corner. Maybe we'll let you pick. I don't know. We need a receiver, so maybe play there. Guys, it was good talking to you guys. I will see you on Wednesday at the live show. Once again, like and subscribe. It helps me greatly. Thanks for watching. Gig 'em.